Hello and welcome everyone to the next episode on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In last session, we talked about the basics of JavaScript. We created variables and also the internal and inline JavaScript code. In today's session, we will see some more insights of how to write JavaScript with different conditions and looping, including the power of JavaScript working with the DOM elements. So let's get started. I'll switch it over to the system. And the very first thing which I would like to show a very powerful API, which is work with the DOM typically. So for example, if I need to transmit this employee JSON, this employee JSON has two attributes, employee ID and employee salary, but I cannot transmit a JSON over the network directly. We need to convert this JSON to a string, just in case if there is a need to store this JSON as a string. You can do that. Of course, you can transmit also the JSON directly over the network, but if you just need to convert this to a string or convert a string to a JSON, it's also possible. So let me show you here. We are first printing the employee JSON, and now I'm converting this to a string. So I can say emp string. You can see my naming convention. First letter is small, next consecutive word, first letter is capital. And I can say JSON dot stringify, and I can pass my string, and this will convert it to a string. Let's have a look at it, how it looks. So now I can just go back. This is a very powerful method to work with JSON. So we can just come and press F12, and we can see the console, and you can see I have got a JSON here, but same JSON got converted to a string here just below. So this is not showcasing any arrow to expand it or do anything. It's just a pure string. But on the top, you see this is a JSON, because when you expand, you can actually see the child property. So the above one is an object and the below one is in a string. Many a times you may need a string, or if you want to convert a string to a JSON, for example, if I write a string, maybe I just replace the same empstr with some string, double quote or single quote, and inside that I have a JSON string x equals to 10 comma y equals to abc. So this is a string. You can see it's packed under a single quote. It's a complete thing is a string. It's not a JSON. I want that to be converted to an object. I can do that easily. mp equals to json dot parse, that converts a string to a JSON, and we can just say console log. That's an opposite of it, and I click refresh, and oops, it gives me an error, unexpected token y. Yes, you're right, it is not treated as a proper JSON. So this is a pure string form of JSON, and I can come back, and there you go. You can see the printed one is a JSON now, because I have done a JSON.parse. So sometimes you get a string from somewhere, and you know that this string is actually not a string, it's inside a JSON. You wanted to convert it to a JSON object, you can use this particular method. Okay, now let's come back and understand different ways to show output to the user. There are four ways. The first is alert, we already saw that. The second way is called console.log. This also we have seen how to print data on the console. So the next method is I can use document.write. For example, I will now write here a label user, and I will write label password input, sorry, just write a pwd for example. So we've got this, and I will write now here a button login, and I of course on click, we call a function. And of course, this function will put it on the top like this. And now I will just go back and start writing content inside this function. So we will just have to validate. So maybe just also put a br tag. Now let me write something inside this function. So I will first read the value of user and password. So let's do that. So var, first I will get my input field object for user, and I'll say document dot get element by id, and of course we will pass here the id of our input field user. We just do that, we get this object. And next what I'm going to do is I will also get the value. So var value user equals to o input user dot get, sorry, dot value. So this way I get the value of the user. Now I can say same thing for input field password. And now I can just compare these values. I can say if user is equals to Anubhav and my password is also equals to Anubhav, then I would do something. So this is where I'll say login successful. Now guys, this is actually a commented code. This is not a real code. This is a commented code. Else curly braces, I will say logon field. Something like this I want to print. But before that, couple of things. The very first thing, if you see here, this one, this seems to be very different from any other programming language. What do we mean by this? So another funda fox of JavaScript. In JavaScript, the equals to operator is a assignment operator, which means if you just write equals to here, it does not mean that you're comparing. What it means is you're assigning the value of this string Anubhav to your value user. This is what you are doing. That's what it means. So even doesn't matter whether you write inside the if condition, it will always do assignment. It will never do comparison. So that's why this is called a comparison operator. We have to use double equals to and is comparison operator. We should use always that to compare. But another interesting point to note here, that if for example I have triple equals to, then what is this one? So triple equals to is not just compare the values, but it also compares the data types. So that's what strict equals we call it as. So triple equals to is a strict equal which compare value and data type both. That's another interesting thing on JavaScript and Node. Yeah. Now next, I just save it for now, and we can just give an alert. Still, I'm using the alert as my output function just to test this part. I can come back, reload, and let me enter username password. I will enter Amin, and I will enter password Anubhav. Oh, my password is visible, but that's okay. We can check that up. I say login, and you say login failed, and I can say Anubhav again, and I say login, and this time my login is success. So it's comparing. Now, one another interesting thing over here, if I want to debug this piece of code, can anybody tell me where does the JavaScript code gets executed? 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 It's executed in the browser. Fantastic. It's a client-side JavaScript, which means since it's executing here, I can really debug here. So you go to the third tab called sources, and this is where you can find the complete code. So if you got to debug your piece of code, you can always do that here. So select my file, and you can see this is the complete code we have. I can maximize this one, and you can see this is the complete code you have. Sometime your console is on the left dock, so you can always choose which direction you want to dock your console, left side, bottom, right. I usually keep it at bottom, which is pretty easy for me to check the code and the app side by side. Okay, you can dock it. However, let's come down. So this is our function, and I can just want to debug. So I set a debugger point. So to do debugger, just click on this line number, for example 22, and we can start logging now. So watch out, it will hit my debugger. I click, boom, you can see I'm inside the debugging. The shortcut for debugging are very easy. F10 is to just execute one complete step. F10, done. If you want to go inside a step, you can press F11. Okay, but right now we are not calling a function inside functions, so we don't use F11. And then we have F8 to continue execution and finish it off till the next breakpoint. So suppose I have a next breakpoint over here, and I press F8, so it will jump over to the next breakpoint by executing everything whatever is in the line. Yeah, so that's your F8. So F10 for one line, F11 is to go inside, F8 to execute, and yeah, shift F11 to come out of a module which you are executing. Now you can also check the values. You can watch the values. So you see on the right side we have a watch point where it shows the values of all the global variables. However, I just wanted to see the value of this user. I can just take my mouse over there and it shows me the value. You see the value is Anubhav. I just take my mouse again on this password. I can see that. I can also check this value and modify this value at runtime. I can take this value, copy, go to console, paste the value. It is the current value. I can modify it to, let's say, Syed Ahmed, and I see the value is changed at runtime. You see it's Syed Ahmed. Syed Ahmed is not matching with Anubhav. So of course this will go inside my if sorry else condition. I press F10, it goes in else and it will print F10. You see it's printing. Okay, and it comes to the end of the method. Yeah, everybody, are you clear how to debug JavaScript code directly? You can debug, everyone. Again, I click on login, F8, we come here and I say F10, it goes inside the if condition and F8, and you can see login is successful. So this is how you can debug. That's a soft breakpoint. Now suppose I have 10 million lines of code. It's huge, huge, huge. One method calling another, another 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 calling another. It's 10 million lines of code. It's very difficult for me to set up a breakpoint on the precise line where I want it to be. So I just wanted to track or check if my code by chance coming to this piece or not. I can put up a hard breakpoint. So I don't really care what's happening. I just want to see if my code ever comes to the if condition. I can put a hard debugger. This is a hard debugger. So if at all system or control will ever come to this piece of code, system will stop in the debugging, otherwise it won't stop. So we go back. Of course, you have to refresh. The code gets refreshed. And now I can just type in over here things like, for example, I'll enter incorrect one. Now the primary condition to make this debugger work is that the console must be open. If your console is not open, no matter what you do, it will never hit your debugger. Okay, I say login. It say login fail. It never hit my debugger. Of course, it is inside the if, so it will only hit when my if is called. Let me type correct one, and I say login. And there you go, you can see it stops at the debugger automatically. And you can also see the call stack, how the things have come. So first on click event was called, and then on login method was called, and we are inside the on login method. So this call stack on the right side, you can see a local variable values. So what is this pointer? This pointer is the current object. So this pointer is like in ABAP, we have me pointer. Me points to current class object. Here, this pointer points to the current browser window object in this case. Yeah. So later on, we'll also use this heavily. So that's about JavaScript quick debugging tips, how you can debug your JavaScript code. Of course, as and when we progress, we'll see more of a debugging example in the future. Now, another elementary thing which I love the most about JavaScript, it's the capability like other programming language, the capability of chaining. What do we mean by chaining? So you can see this whole thing, what you see is producing, this whole thing is producing a variable o input user. Later on, this o input user is used here to produce a value. So what I got to do is now what I'll tell the system, hey system, I don't want to end up creating multiple variables. I don't want that. I don't want this extra O user variable. Don't need this. This piece of code, if I take it and I pump it over here by removing this variable permanently, I would still get the same result. Which means if something is producing an object, a call is producing an object, that object you don't have to store it temporary variable, you can directly use it here, and then you can chain the operations. So it was doing dot value, you can just take this dot value and append it here, it will work the same way. So you don't have to create extra bit of variables, you can save lot of memory or a lot of time in creating variable. Let me show you that. I can cut it from here. Maybe I'll do it for password, so that you'll have both the flavors. It's your choice which one you want to use. Cut it and I paste it over here, and now I don't need this password variable anymore. Are you clear? This is so important because I'm going to use it heavily in coming days, and you should not get confused about why you do what we do. Are you clear? Everyone please answer. Is this concept clear? Chaining concept, you don't need to declare extra bit of variables. This guy is producing an object. I'm assuming that this whole thing is an object. Dot, its operation is applicable. I can join them together. This concept is called chaining. Okay, this is called chaining example. Yeah, so we saw multiple things. Now introducing the next output function, I don't want to use alert, I use window.write. Sorry, document.write. To this will write or replace your entire DOM with what you want to write. So I can say now here h1 tag, and I say long was a success, Roger. So now what will happen is system is going to print this for us, this h1 tag. Just want to, I can put also inline style. Yeah. So this one I want to print this HTML. It will replace the whole DOM with this HTML, whatever I pumped in. Save it. Let's come back, reload. And you can see login was successful, Roger. So that's how you can work with document.write, which replaces the whole DOM. The entire DOM got replaced. If you see your DOM now, your DOM is the one which we gave. This was the DOM we gave. So it has replaced the whole DOM. Yeah. So that's another output function in JavaScript. Of course, we don't use all of them heavily, but just wanted to show. The next output function is, for example, if I go back and I create a label with an ID called message. You can create with any ID. It's not just that you create with ID which I mentioned. You can create with Spider-Man as well, doesn't matter. Now over here, this label I would like to dynamically change. You can do that with another output function. So for example, if something fails, yeah, logon fails, I want to give a message to the user. So what I can do is I can set the text dynamically to this label element. Its ID is message. So we get first its object or label equals to document dot get element by ID message. Give me that element message o label dot inner text. Your login was abandoned due to invalid cred. Yeah. So this is another thing. You can actually also do this. Anyone, what is this concept called? What is this concept called? What is this concept? Perfect. Chinmay, very good answer. It's called chaining. Just now we saw the above example of chaining. It's another example, just another example of chaining. Rather than storing this in a separate object and calling it, just doing chaining. Awesome. Save this up. Let's come back, test it. I will enter, of course, an invalid one. I click on login and you see we get this message. You've entered an invalid credential. Superb. That's a message. So this way we can work with fourth output function called inner text. Yeah. Now that was about a simple if condition equals to operator comparison, document write, document inner text, two output functions and chaining concepts. All these multiple concepts in one example. Now we also saw the JavaScript. What else it can do? It can also change the CSS at runtime. So let's go back and see. So this is an example of changing DOM at runtime. You change the DOM, you have added extra bit of text. So you can also change the CSS. So what I'm going to do is go back to our styling thing and get those boxes from here. Copy, and get those boxes right here. And let's see. We got it, but that doesn't look like the boxes because there is no styling. So now the benefit of the external styling is we can really get that over here, right? We can just get the link. We don't have to copy paste all the time the entire styling code. We can just link it and we get this styling for free out of the box. Everything will come with our new page as well, right? Just save this, come back, reload, and I see we got the boxes created automatically because my style is here. Now let me add a button just below the boxes. Of course we have to kill the floating. Just create a magic. It's magic. All right. So I'm creating a magic function. Of course, right now, nothing inside the magic function I'll put. Just save this. Let's come back, reload. So now it's a magic, nothing happening on the magic. What I want on click of magic is I wanted to change the background color of this box, this upper box, and this upper box to black. Again, I repeat, I want to change the background color for this, all the top three boxes. My question to you, what identifier do you feel you will use to change the background color of all three top boxes? What do you feel? What is the identifier you will use to change the background color of these three boxes titles section? Exactly, very good, Naren. It's the title which is common, which is the class name which is common. If you see, all these three were having same box title. Exactly, exactly. they were all having this fixed box title. Absolutely. So we can go back and change that. So for that, first of all, I have to get step by step. Step one, we need to get all the elements with class name box title. And of course, when you try to get this, it will return you all elements. Which data type will you use to get multiple objects in JavaScript? If there are multiple objects, yesterday we learned about data type. If you're not practicing, then it's going to be difficult. Very good, Chinmay. It's array. You are the best, Chinmay. So you got an array. And now what we can do is we can go to step two. We can loop over the array. Elements. Basically, you get all the UI elements in this array. You loop over it, and inside each loop pass, we will process. So watch out. I say var array of let's say boxes, box title, and now I will just say document dot get elements by class name. Awesome, guys. That's our next API. We learned about it in the bars class. I've just mentioned it in the PPT as well. Box title, give me all the box title. I'm expecting an array, of course, because it's plural. Look at this, elements s, and I'm going to loop over this. You can do loop for loop I equals to 0, because an index starts with always 0. I is less than my box title dot length, yeah, and then I plus plus. Keep incrementing this loop pass. Basic loop for programmers, always have like this. Yeah. Now I didn't declare I, so it's a good practice to declare I here itself. Say var I equals to 0. I is less than length. Keep looping until you reach to the last element, and I plus plus. And if we say array of box title of ith element in the loop pass, you're gonna get your title element. So we are looping over all the elements, and in the each loop pass, we get access to individual one by one. Are you able to relate this with something in ABAP? Those who come from ABAP world, are you able to relate it with something which happens in ABAP, which you do very often day and night? I mean, regularly you do it on ABAP. Absolutely, exactly. Loop at iTab into work area. This is absolutely same like that. You're doing exactly the same thing over here, like loop at iTab into work area. This is same thing. You are looping over an array, and each array loop pass you get access to the element which this array is storing. And now on this element I can say title dot style. What I want to change, I want to change background color black. Save this up. Let's come back. It's time to test the magic. Let's click on the magic. Boom, you can see the color, the background color of these three boxes changed to black color. Everybody, are you clear? Maybe I can just go to CSS file, change a little bit of style out there. Box title, I'll make a height 80 pixel, refresh, and now I can see the box color is changed to this. You can debug, of course, why not? It's the same process. It's a ditto same process. You can see the loop debugging as well. So come back, go to sources, put up a breakpoint, and I can say refresh for and say magic. And you see it hit my magic button. And I press F10, And you can see this array contains three elements, three HTML element objects. Everything is an object in JavaScript. You've got three element objects. See, all three box titles. It will start looping. So first loop pass, it will change the color to the first element. Watch out the screen. I come F8. You see the first element color changed. Come down. Next. Boom. You can see next one. Loop pass. Third loop pass. Third element color got changed. Loop gets cancelled. Loop gets over. And you get all three color got changed. Awesome. Change the height little bit less. Yes. Makes sense. You can see the color is changing, guys. Fantastic. Everybody, are you clear how to manipulate CSS at runtime using JavaScript? That's what JavaScript is. Powerful. So powerful actually. Now next, I would like to probably change also the color to white. No problem. Just come and say color property to white. And I click, you see now the color is white, but the background is black. That's how it works. Changing CSS at runtime using JavaScript. Clear everyone how to work with CSS at runtime using JavaScript? You can always change it. Awesome. Next, let's see some more examples. So that was a loop and also changing the CSS at runtime together in a single example. And of course, we learned how to use get elements by class name. So get element, observe here, get element by ID. It gets you one element because you're asking ID and it's not plural. But here you see get elements by class name. It's plural S. So it will give you multiple. You can expect an array out. Even it produces one element, but that will also be the only element inside the array. You have to use the loop to progress or to access those elements one by one. Okay. Now, same way you can create a JSON and you can loop over the JSON. Suppose I will go back and we can use our JSON which we created in the past class for employee, and I can loop over that JSON as well. So I can say button and on click on JSON loop. Just wanted to show that. So JSON, and I can just use this one, go up, function JSON loop curly braces, and maybe I just load JSON from another function. So I have another function load JSON, and this function will load a JSON and return that back to me. So I go back. Do we have that JSON somewhere? I guess I didn't code it. Okay, we didn't code it. We had kept it in our in our notepad file yesterday. Just open that notepad file. Oh, sorry, I don't have that anymore. No problem, we can quickly create it. So I can go back to jsonlint.com and I can say array, and we can create an or maybe I can create a little complex JSON. So watch out, guys. I put curly braces and I put two entities inside. It's a deep structure I'm creating. So I can say two entities. So you can say employee tab, a table, and employee structure, a structure. Are you guys clear that this is also JSON? I'm creating a complex JSON which has multiple entities. So you see this one and this one, they are called entity sets. What are all they called? Entity sets. Please type in chat window, everyone. What are all they called? They are called entity sets. They are direct children of my root. This is my root node. They are called entity sets. Okay, how many entity sets we have in this example? How many entity sets? Two. Can I create more than two? Yes, you can create infinite number of entity sets. Yes, infinite number of entity sets. Can an entity set have another entity set inside? Can we have that? Yes, it's possible. Okay, come back. So we have employee tab. I would like to create employees now. So first employee, second employee, third, which is the array type of entity set in this too. In these two, which one is an array? Which entity set is an array inside these two? Which is an array? Exactly, the employee tab. The first one is an array. Very good, guys. You guys are understanding quite quick. But please note that these things you will understand it today, but tomorrow they will run away from your mind until you not practice. You have to practice, guys. You know my secrets of remembering everything? I note down everything in a notebook. So please buy a notebook and a pen and start writing notes, because when you write from fingers, your fingers will remember. My Guruji used to tell in childhood days, जब आप हाथ से लिखते हो तो उंगलियों को याद हो जाता है. Your fingers will remember. If you write down something with your own hand, your fingers will remember. And when you want to recall, just open your notebook. That's how I do. If you visit my home, I have piles and piles of notebook on my shelf for every engineering subject. For UI5, for ABAP upon HANA, for Analytics Cloud, I have written books with my own hands with in the notebooks. I have my own notes for every single thing which I do. You tell me any subject, I will open the notebook, I will read it, and next day I'm ready to teach that subject. That's what happens. Your fingers will remember, guys. That's a best practice. Learn how to learn is also important. All right, salary 5,000. Just keep some data and just repeat that. I have some demo data now. 200, 300, 400. I say Riaz, and I'll say Max, and I say Stephanie, and say 6800, 9,000, 14,000. And I can have a single record as well. So I can just do a single record. There are two completely different entity sets. 999. I will say Mario, and I'll say 1470. So we have some demo data over here. Let's validate this JSON. Oops, there's an error. Okay, this is an extra bit of comma. Yes, now it's a valid JSON. I can pick it up. I will move this JSON inside our code here, and I'll put it as part of this guy here, this load JSON. And I will say return when somebody ask or call this method. I will return a JSON out. So see, I'm just returning a JSON object out. Yeah, I will just return. I can say return X, and I will of course define the var X is equals to this complete JSON. So just created a JSON here. This is our JSON, and when somebody ask or call this load JSON function, this X will be written out, which is the JSON. It has two entity sets. So I'll say var, I'll say demo, or say sample, can say just anything, and I call this method load JSON. So this is another example of calling method inside method in JavaScript. You can always do that modularization of your code. So one method is giving you the JSON, another method is consuming it. And I would like to loop over this employee tab alone. So of course, first I have to access the employee tab. So I say var emp tab equals to my sample dot emp tab. I just got access to that element, which is an array, and I can just do a loop. Var I is equals to 0 is less than array of emp tab dot length I plus plus, and I can say array of emp tab dot element of ith element, and I can just print the, maybe just want to print employee name, so I can say emp name. I'm accessing that inside a loop. I'm just going to print it on the console. So when we call this, it's going to print all the employee names on the console. Let's go back, and I can just go back here, refresh, and watch out this JSON thing. And of course I'll open the console, because everything will get printed in the console. All the employee names from my JSON will get printed on the console. I click on that, and you see Anubhav, Riaz, Max, and Stephanie, all four names are getting printed. Everybody, are you clear? You can debug, not a problem. You can come back here, do this, set up a breakpoint. You can just go back and hit, and you see it's calling load JSON. You want to go inside this, you can press F11. So now I'm inside the JSON, load JSON method. F10, it returns an X, it comes back, and now it's accessing this employee tab. Yeah, it has two entity set. One of them is an array. Employee tab is an array. I'm accessing that entity set, and then we got an employee tab which has 4 elements. It will start looping and print every one by one inside the loop. Loop कर रहा है, 4 बार करेगा, print करेगा, खत्म. It has printed all the 4 names. We are done with the method with the JSON loop. Clear everybody? How to play with the JSON? Everyone, are you clear? How to play with the JSON? Now, let's take another example. Okay, why not to give this as an exercise to all of you? Create a button. On click of that, every employee salary will be incremented by 10% in the JSON. And then print employee name dash salary on console. Clear? That's a requirement, guys. That's a requirement. You guys have to work on it. I've given you the demo data. You have to work on it. You can produce your own demo data with JSON lint if you want. Okay. Now, next, what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you dynamic JavaScript. Dynamic JavaScript is actually used to dynamically print content on the screen. How to use it? For example, if I on click of a button, I would like to generate a new element on the UI. Yeah, I want to do that. So let me add a dummy element for now. I just add a dummy div element. I can call it as a div. I can call it as canvas. You can name it anything. Why I'm naming it as a canvas? Because it's a canvas page. I would like to draw something on this. That's why I'm just naming it as a canvas. You can name it anything you like. And I just add a button on click on draw. Draw. So on draw. Now I want to dynamically create new elements on the screen. Okay, dynamically. Watch out. I will say var o new element document dot create element. What type of element do you want to create, Anubhav? I want to create maybe an h4 tag. Then I will say var o text for this h4 tag document dot create text node. And in this I can pass my text. I say welcome. And now I will add this text inside and I say append child. I'm adding my text inside the element. So this whatever text I've hard coded, I'm just adding that. And this newly created element I will add inside the DOM. So in my DOM I've created a canvas area in which I will start drawing my new element. So I'll get the object of the canvas area. It's already there on the screen. On this canvas, please draw my element. So I can say append child. It's a tree data structure. Remember, DOM is a tree data structure. That's why your method like append child, append parent, all these methods will be there. And that's it. Now on click of the button, it will create a new element. It will set the text for this element as welcome. And then it will finally add this element to the DOM. As a result of this, on click of the button, you will see a new element will print on the screen dynamically. I come back, refresh, watch out. I click on draw. Voila! You can see a welcome is getting printed. Wow, awesome, Anubhav, awesome. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. Now, suppose I don't like to print hard-coded welcome. I wanted to print the value which I want to enter. No problem, come back just above the draw. Let's add an input field. And I can say ID, cut, and we can go back and use this cut. And instead of this hard-coded text, I'll just say document dot get element by ID. My got element dot value. Are you clear what is this concept called? What is this? This will produce the value. What is this concept called? Chaining. Fantastic. Very good answer. We are doing a chaining. So you can do a chaining even within the method signature. I'm passing this whole value of my got field. Save this up. Let's come back. Reload. And we got an input field, hopefully. Where is it gone? I don't see the input field next to draw. I think I did a mistake. I should have put an input INPUT. Anubhav is a bad typo. Save this. Come back, reload. Yes, now we got this. Tell me, guys, what do you want me to type? What do you want me to print on the screen dynamically? Give me something. Your best fruit, your best place, your hometown name, yeah, your lucky number. Give me something which you want me to print. Anyone. What do you want me to print? You want me to print what? UI5 class? Okay, let's try. Let's try that. And there you go. You can see it prints UI5 class. Let's say I want to print, let's say, NetStart. There you go. I want to print Tyrion. There you go. Jon Snow. Delirious. You can see it's keep printing the content which you want to print on the screen. Yeah, that's a dynamic programming. We never go till this level of JavaScript. This is the extreme level. We will typically not go to this level. Just wanted to show that this is also possible with JavaScript. JavaScript is capable of doing everything what you see on the browser. It actually is the backbone. It's the programming language which browser understand directly. Now suppose I get rid of this complete code. Bye bye to this code. Bye bye. Cut it. Nothing will work now anymore. No magic happening, no JSON happening, no draw happening. Nothing will work. Yeah. All is dead. Everything is dead because I moved my JavaScript out. Let's move it in a separate file. We of course call this separate file as a .js. I'm going to create a new file and I can say reuse.js. Guys, why do we create a reuse.js? What's the purpose? Why do we do what we do? I was happy having my code out there. Why am I creating a reuse.js? What's the need to create this? My code was working there itself. Why I create an external JS file? Why? Exactly, reusability. Tomorrow in your company, you have 20 different developers. They're building 20 different projects. They can reuse this file. Yes, you can reference this one single file multiple places. If you compare this with ABAP, in ABAP we have include program. So whatever you write inside an include program, you can include that include program in hundreds of your ABAP programs. Complete reusability, guys. Complete reusability. This is called gold standard. Okay, complete reusability, gold standard. So reuse.js is called a library. Why reuse.js is a library? Because it's a collection of functions. Collection of books is a library. Collection of JavaScript functions is a JavaScript library. Everybody, do you understand what a library? Reuse.js is a library. Everyone, yes or no? Is this a library? Yes or no? It's a collection of JavaScript functions which are reusable by your teammates. You can reuse this. It's a collection of functions. It's a library. How do you reference a library? You go back out there, you use a script tag, you use src property, and you just put the address of the library. It's called reuse.js. Everybody, is this clear? We never reference it with link tag. Link tag only CSS will be referenced, but JavaScript is referenced using a script tag with src property. Is this clear? Hello, this is the most important concept of referencing a JS library. Let's go back. Chalega ki nahi chalega? Will it work or not now? Now if I do magic, will it work or not? Chalega. Click on this. Wow, it's working. There you go. You can see it's changing the color. If I wanted to draw something, wow. Yes, I learned JS. World's #1 programming. You can see I can write like this. Fantastic. Fantastic. There you go. There you go. Everything is working, which means tomorrow if somebody else give you a JavaScript file, you can reference that. It can be in another folder. Yes, why not? Let me just create a new folder. I can say all, or I can say library, name it anything. I can cut it from here and paste it inside the library. I can go back and just put the address. Yes, you can do that. Come back, refresh. It works. So you can keep it in another file, another folder, and that's where you can also reference it, which means I can also reference it from internet. Yes, if somewhere there is somebody who's hosting a library from the internet, I can reference that out of the box. Just to give you an example, I'll not show that here. I had a requirement to create a PDF document. A PDF document. I went to internet, I found a library which creates a PDF. You just need to supply data to that library. I reference that library using script tag in my UI5 file, in my HTML file. And with the help of data supplying to that library, I was able to generate a PDF out of the box. It's possible. Okay. One question for external JavaScript, we need to use into the tag body or into the tag header. You can use it anywhere. You can, if you use this script in the body, it's also fine. You can also do that, no problem. You can do that, doesn't matter. I can come back, refresh. It's magic. But what is the good practice? What is the gold standard? What is the W3C gold standard? Use it in the body. That's a good practice, because we not just learn, we also learn good practices. In this course, this is one unique course where you'll see not just learning concepts, but also learning best practices, the gold standards. So that when we go for code reviews, when we go for external reviews of our code, when an expert is reviewing and checking your code, you should not get the bad comments. They should respect your work. They should say, okay, you followed good practice, you followed the best practices. That's our goal of this course, not just writing the code, but writing it to the gold standard is very, very important. Now, yes, Chinmay, very good, Chinmay, you catched it. If you guys go back to our demo class, we actually referenced SAP UI5 library the same way. We use script tag and we say src, and here we give the address of SAP UI5 JavaScript library, JavaScript framework actually, in the src tag, if you remember. Now guys, the good news is you can also see what library system is loading. If you go back to the sources, you can see here system also shows you that we are loading this reuse.js. If this library is ever loaded, it will show it in the sources tab also. You can see it here. Now, do you see anything related to SAP UI5 at the moment? No, we don't see. I can go back and I can give a URL for SAP UI5 library from the internet. It's actually a framework bigger than a library. Framework is a collection of library. You can also load a framework using the same command, sapf.hana.ondemand.com /resources SAP UI core JS. This is a framework. We are loading it from the internet. It's a .js file again. Come back. Watch out on the left side. Right now you see only localhost. You see only your library and your files. I'll reload. And boom, there you go. You can see we have got SAP UI5 framework loaded for us. Fantastic. Everyone, are you clear? What is the power of a script tag? How it can help you to load any library from the internet? Of course, we'll start using it soon. Right now, we are just understanding the core concept. Now, I hope you're able to understand what we did, why we did in the demo class. Of course, it was just a demo. Now we are having a deep dive inside these concepts. Okay. So this way you can load any library available on the internet, be a PDF or Excel sheet. You wanted to do anything, there are libraries available on internet to do that. You don't have to reinvent the whole wheel. Just think before you write a code. think that this a very common requirement that somebody somewhere on the world in some company would have got a similar requirement? For sure, they would have got it. What did they do? They would have created something for that. Why do you want to recreate that all again? Why don't you just go back, explore, and find out a library which you can use, reuse again? Like if I want to send an Google email to somebody programmatically, I can do that. Google also provide their libraries. So Google JS library. Google provide library for everything, be it a Google Map, be it a Google email, Google Drive, Google Maps, everything they provide libraries. You see, this is a JavaScript library for Google Maps. You want to integrate a Google Map, you can use Google's JavaScript library. So the whole world is advanced a lot on JavaScript world, that almost every company provides their JavaScript library for reuse purpose. You just reuse their library, create the instances, create the objects of their classes, and then you start working with it. Be it Google, Microsoft, Netflix, NetApp, or maybe Amazon, Uber, they all provide libraries. Some are paid libraries, some are non-paid libraries. But the idea is to not reinvent the wheel, not rewrite everything, just reuse the libraries which these companies provides and build on top of it, rather reinventing the whole world all over again. That's just a thought I'm seeding in your mind. Of course, in next class our goal is to not become a Google developer, rather our goal is to become a UI5 developer. So we will be spending time in using SAP UI5 library. With that, it's a wrap on today's session. Catch you up tomorrow at the same time. We'll start with the concept of jQuery, and that will be the end of our phase one of this course, about 10 sessions, which and then right after that we'll start with SAP UI5 framework. So right now we can also comment out this piece of code. We really don't need it actually for our current example, but just showed you an example. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.